A lot of the QB market seems to be solved, but there are a few names that need to be moved, and I'm here to tell you where they need to be moved to. Hey, my name is Tyler, and welcome back to The Athletic Nerd. First, I have to start with Baker Mayfield. This is probably the biggest name on the market, and for good reason. The former number 1 overall pick and Heisman Trophy winner and also Rookie of the Year, has had an up and down NFL career, with the latest down leading to the Browns deciding to trade for the unproblematic Deshaun Watson. They said they needed an adult at the QB position and decided to go with Watson, who's a real hands-on type of guy. No need to talk about his situation since it is a touchy subject, so let's stick to Mayfield. I think he can be an average to above average QB in the league with the right situation. He wasn't healthy last season, and it's hard for the Browns to keep him with his high cap hit and the fact that they also signed Jacoby Brissett. The Browns might keep him to play in place of Watson with a looming suspension, but the best move for both sides would probably be to Seattle. Even though it seems like the Seahawks are headed for a rebuild, Mayfield is only on a 1-year deal and is a better option than Drew Lock. The offensive line and defense are subpar, but the Seahawks still have weapons with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Noah Fant, Chris Carson, and Rashad Penny. The Browns have no leverage, so he is worth a 3rd or 4th round pick to be given a chance. If it doesn't work, then move on like it never happened. Pete Carroll won't survive another rebuild given his age in recent years, so it makes sense for the Seahawks to make this upgrade while not sacrificing their future at all. Next is Jimmy Garoppolo. The 49ers may have mishandled the Jimmy G situation a little bit. I think they made the right decision to fully commit to Trey Lance for 2022 and beyond, but not pulling the trigger on a Jimmy G trade might be something they regret as the QB market has dried up a bit. The $25 million cap hit stinks for the 49ers, but he can serve as a high-end backup if necessary, or may be outright released if need be. I think the best fit for him would be Carolina. Many teams have mocked them for drafting a quarterback, but I think this would be a poor decision. A lot of the times, rookie QBs don't move the needle too much, especially given the other holes on the roster and lack of other draft picks. The smart thing as a franchise would be to let Sam Darnold try once again, and if he doesn't work out, just draft a guy next year. But more than likely, Matt Rule is fighting for his job, and he won't be able to see next year anyway. And going into this season with only Darnold isn't good enough. I throw the 49ers a future conditional pick that can turn into like a 3rd if Jimmy Garoppolo wins the job and plays the majority of snaps. Hope that a healthy McCaffrey and co can take advantage of a weakened NFC South and at least have a winning record, so Matt Rule can keep his job for a little bit. I have on here is Jordan Love. Everyone knows I'm a Jordan Love fan, but with the Rodgers extension and with the way the market fared, it seems like he'll have to wait for another opportunity to start in 2 years. It seemed like a team would trade for him this offseason, given he would have a year to prove himself, but a team would have to decide to pick up his 5th-year option. A lot of teams will likely be in the QB market next year, but it wouldn't be smart to trade anything higher than a conditional 3rd for him next year and then immediately pick up his 5th-year option the way the Panthers did, even though the Panthers threw even more draft capital. And the Packers might prefer to keep him as a high-end backup to Rodgers for the rest of his rookie deal, then decline his 5th-year option instead of a measly 3rd, 4th, 5th-round pick in case Aaron Rodgers gets injured. It's sad to see what might be a wasted career due to factors completely out of his control, but there's nothing that can be done at this point. Teams that should stick with their QBs this year, or at least not draft one. I will not be discussing draft prospects or where they should go in this vid, as that video will be coming out later. But these are the teams that have been discussed that should stick with their QBs this year. Saints are number 1 on my list. Many teams have mocked them a QB, and it makes some sense. However, I do think that Jameis Winston is good enough for the time being if he fully recovers from the knee injury, not that he was ever fully mobile in the first place. I think they can be a playoff team with Winston if they hit on their draft picks to fill their needs at wide receiver and tackle, especially with the recent trade, and a combination of Trevor Penning and Chris Olave, for example, is better than one or the other, plus one of these iffy quarterback prospects in the middle of the 1st round. Especially since they have an easy 4 wins within the division, maybe with how Carolina and Atlanta are stacking up. Next up, this one is probably a bit more controversial, but I think I have the Lions for sure. I think Jared Goff is a good enough tank commander. He's a bottom 10 quarterback, but he's better than what a few teams have, and the options the Lions have aren't great. Willis at 2 is a reach in my opinion, especially compared to other top quarterback prospects, even though he has the potential and seems like a great guy, and Goff can be the bridge in theory. But like I said, Willis is just not up to par to other quarterbacks that have gone top 5 and even top 10 in recent years. And at 32 or 34, I'm not wasting a high-value pick on a Howell, Corral, or a Matt Corral when it's likely I have a top pick next year anyway and I could just get a blue-chip guy. If the QB is there, you should always take him, since it's always risky to just give up another year. But none of these QB prospects feel this way to me, so I just continue to build the rest of the roster instead. Even if I have to trade up next year, it's better to do that with the addition of Kayvon Thibodeau or Ike Ekwonu, plus in a Kobe Dean and like a Jahan Dotson, because then you have a lot of blue chip / very good players to then maximize the value of a rookie QB contract, even if I do have to trade up a future first, etc., say they get like pick 10. I feel less confident about this one since the Seahawks don't really have a quarterback in place, and there is a very clear way of how they could turn around their roster. I talked about the Seahawks and how they should trade for Mayfield, but drafting Willis at 9 honestly makes sense. They have the weapons. The line will be very bad for the time being, and Willis will have an adjustment period, but it could work on offense, at least a decent bit. I just think the defense is terrible to the point that it wouldn't push the needle enough, at least in year 1, but a quick turnaround could happen if they hit on the rest of their draft picks, especially if they do continue to invest in the offensive line. I'm talking myself into Willis at 9, actually. I think that they will probably finish last in the division with him year 1, but after that, I think they might actually take off. But instead, as you'll see in my mock draft, Willis won't make it to 9, and the Seahawks going BPA at corner or on the defensive line will probably be the move here. It would be beautiful to see Willis throw a 60-yard bomb to DK Metcalf just for Pete Carroll to recall 3 run plays in a row right after that, so they have to settle for a field goal. But the Seahawks are definitely a team to look out for. Last up that I just feel like I will have to include is Kirk Cousins. Originally, I was going to mock Willis to the Vikings at 12. Kirk had 1 year left on his deal, Kellen Mond didn't seem to be working out too much, and a new regime change may have led for Kirk Cousins to be moved. But I actually like the Cousins extension. I've been of the opinion that the Vikings should just bite the bullet with mediocrity and just trade him, or at least let him walk, especially due to his high cap hits that he keeps handcuffing the team with. But a $30 million cap hit isn't that bad given what the QB market has produced, especially lately, and it seems like the front office wants to keep the status quo but revamp the rest of the roster, with a few of their picks likely going on defense and the addition of Zadarius Smith to hopefully complement a young offensive line, Dalvin Cook, Jay Jettis, and Adam Thielen, who recently got his contract restructured. And that's a close case. Let me know down in the comments what you think these teams should do. I love to hear your feedback. Make sure to like the video and to follow/subscribe for more sports content in the near future. Hope you have a great day and peace.
I deserve it, so believe me when I tell you I'm on my grind for certain. Tell me if you're working harder, if you're hardly working.